Hey y'all, welcome back to another new release video. If you are new here, welcome. What I have been doing lately is that I have been doing a new release video for the following month, every month since 2023 started, because of the fact that I was going to do this quarterly, but it's just too much material that ends up coming out. So I inevitably have made the decision to do one of these each month. So today we're going to be looking at least 40 plus new releases that I'm interested in that are releasing in March. So I break this up week by week. I don't give a lengthy or long explanation for each title because these videos would be incredibly long and they're already interesting to edit. So we're going to go ahead and jump in. I think that for the month of March, I am definitely more interested in more youth related titles than adult titles. I'm not sure what that is, but there weren't many that I was interested in. So this month in particular is going to lean heavily on the middle grade picture books and young adult stuff. Now, I do not include any graphic novel, manga, or comic releases in this because I talk about all of that stuff on my second channel, which is The Realm of Comics. If you haven't checked out that channel, be sure to check it out whenever you get a chance, especially if you're interested in things that are comics, graphic novel, and manga related. So let's go ahead and jump in. We're going to start with the week of March 7th. If you did not know, major book releases typically happen on Tuesdays of the week. That's not to say that I haven't seen books release on other days throughout the week, but typically from publishing houses, especially your major publishing houses or your traditional publishing houses, you're getting new releases on Tuesdays. So for the week of March 7th, I probably the most titles for the week of March 7th. So we're going to start with What Happened to Ruth Ramirez. It is a book about a Puerto Rican family from Staten Island that discovers that their long missing sister is potentially alive and cast on a reality show, and they set out to bring her home. Next, we have a young adult title called, or a middle grade title, I believe. It's called You Are Here Connecting Flights. This is an exploration of contemporary Asian American identity through interwoven stories set in a teeming Chicago airport. So if you think of stuff like Black Boy Joy, or I forget the other one that, Flying Lessons, the one that was edited by Ellen O, it follows kind of that same format and themes, I would say. Next, I have Now You See Us. This is a story of 3 women who work in the homes of Singapore's elite and band together to solve a murder mystery involving one of their own. Next, I have a picture book called The Night Before Eid. This is a Muslim family story about faith, history, and delicious food. Next is Royal Blood. This is a young adult book, which this can be a hit or miss for me, but I think that just the premise of it and the cover is what attracted me to the story. It's about an American girl who becomes part of the British monarchy's greatest nightmare, and it's a thrilling new series where royal scandals just got deadlier. So this is a murder mystery set on the backdrop of the British monarchy. Next, I have River Spirit, which is a story about an embattled young woman's coming of age during the Madhis War in 19th century Sudan. So The Neighborhood is one that I added to my list after I heard the author read a little bit of their book at a webinar that I had to attend for work. It is a young adult book that is a raised fist against the destructive forces of gentrification and a love letter to all communities of color. And it is a story of 3 best friends who will do anything or whatever it takes to stay together. Next, we have Rainbow Shopping, which is a picture book about sharing a delicious meal which helps a child feel loved in this heartfelt tribute to a Chinatown and spending days off together. Next, we have Legends of Lotus Island. This is a new middle grade fantasy series for readers who love stories about animals, magic, and kids like them embracing their power to change the world. The cover of this one is absolutely gorgeous, so I had to pick it up. I should say I had to put it on my list because I haven't been buying any books. I have not bought a single book so far this year. So there's that. Next is The Making of Butterflies. This is another Zora Neale Hurston picture book, and it is a first folk tale about the origin of butterflies. So this is a second collaboration of a picture book with Zora Neale Hurston and Ibram X. Kendi, I believe. Next is Rootless, which is a debut novel about a marriage in crisis, which is one of my favorite tropes that asks the question, can you ever be rooted in a life that's on the brink of destruction? or collapse. Next is Jump, which I'm excited to see that Brittany Morris is coming out with another book. I absolutely enjoyed her first 2 books that she has released. This one is a novel about a group of working class teens in Seattle who join a dangerous scavenger hunt with a prize that can save their families and communities. This next one is an interesting one for me because I never really add this author to my list, but they are very, very well known in the children's lit community, and that's Iceberg, and it's by Jennifer Nielsen. And I like a lot of stories. I realize this. I like youth-based literature, whether that's teen, middle grade, picture books, or children's, that discusses the Titanic. And this one is a thrilling story of a young girl who stows away on board the Titanic as she explores, attempting to find answers to her many questions about the ships, and suddenly she finds herself caught up in a desperate struggle to survive, of course, once the ship hits an iceberg. Next, I have Chloe and the Keishao Boys. Please let me know if I'm saying that wrong, but this is a YA rom-com about a Chinese Filipino girl in Manila whose father sets her up on a marathon of arranged dates in hopes that he could pretty much keep her close to home when she goes to college. Next is Rosewood, a midsummer meet cute. The only byline that I have for this one, or the only kind of description I have for this, is that it's a Sense and Sensibility retelling. The next I have is What Stays Buried. This is a middle grade thrilling ghost story that is a heartfelt coming of age journey, also a poignant reminder that those we've loved and lost are never far away. So this one probably is going to be a little bit of a heartstring puller type of situation. It just sounds like it from the description. This is The Family Fortuna, which this cover is absolutely beautiful, and I like the idea that it is circus based. So it takes readers backstage at the Family Fortuna circus, where wonders lie in wait to steal your breath away. And whenever I read this, I was like, steal your breath away. I wonder if we mean that literally or figuratively, because that would be really, really interesting. Next, we have Boundless, which is the biography of a bronze medal winning Olympian, Shantae Lowe. Next, we have The Scrolls of Chaos, which is an action-packed middle grade story where the main character ventures into the world of mythological China in order to save her mother and the entire world. And last for this week, I have Study Break, which is 11 tales from orientation to graduation. So this is another short story compilation of interconnected contemporary young adult short stories that explore different parts of the college experience, which I'm going to be really, really interested in this. One of the things that was included in the description of this book is that it's primarily written by Gen Z authors. So I'm wondering, just as someone who's I'm not Gen X. I was about to say I'm Gen X. As someone who's a millennial, I'm very interested in what the Gen Z college experience is like and how it's different from mine. So that one, I think I wanted to read for my own personal reasons to see the difference in college experience between generations, which I think would be an interesting analysis to make while reading that book. Moving on to March 14th, I have Dust Child, which y'all know I read The Mountains Sing earlier this year, maybe a few weeks ago. And so when I found out that Dust Child was coming out, I had already spoken about it, but I wanted to make sure I included it on this list. It is a suspenseful and moving saga about family secrets, hidden trauma, and the overriding power of forgiveness. And this is set in during the war and in present day Vietnam. Next is Stateless, which is a thrilling murder mystery set in 1937 Europe. Then we have Carnival Quest, which it was interesting for me to include this, but I wanted to include this because my goal this year is to make it through some of my Brandon Mole collection, and this book in particular is the finale to the Candy Shop Wars, which I do have books 1 and 2 in the Candy Shop series. So it's nice to know that the series has finally come to a close. I think it's taken forever for Brandon Mole to actually write the conclusion to the series, so now that gives me even more incentive to go ahead and at least read that trilogy. I have all of the Fablehaven books, I have the Five Kingdom books, I have the Beyonders books, so I just need to dive into my Brandon Mole collection like soon. Next, I have Ebb and Flow. This is a middle grade book about a 10-day suspension that has two twins, Dakari and Ebony, seeing the world from a fresh perspective. After that, I have the next new Syrian girl. It is about the unlikely friendship between two very different Syrian girls, the pressures and expectations of the perfect Syrian daughter, and the repercussions of the Syrian revolution both at home and abroad. Next is The Last Russian Doll. This is a haunting epic novel about betrayal, revenge, and reformation that follows three generations of Russian women from the 1917 revolution to the last days of the Soviet Union and the enduring love story at the center of it. This just sounds like it's going to be a very, very intriguing story. Next, I have A Long Stretch of Bad Days. This is about a small town's past and the secrets unearthed by the way of two teen girls in a podcast. Now, I'm excited to possibly listen to this one on audio because of the podcast element. I find that I like any type of thriller or murder mystery that has a podcast at the center, because the audiobook typically reads like a true crime podcast, and I just realized I really enjoy that. So hopefully it does bring that element in on the audiobook if they do an audiobook for it. Next is Flower Heart. This is a standalone YA debut that is a cottagecore fantasy romance about a girl with powerful and violent magic that she must learn to control. So I figured a lot of people might be interested in this one because of the cottagecore piece to it, but we'll see. Next is Aniana Del Mar Jumps In. This is a novel told in verse about a 12-year-old Dominican swimmer who is diagnosed with juvenile arthritis, which I have never seen that in a middle grade nor YA book. So I'm interested to see where the author basically goes with the story and how much research they put into it, whether it is something that they've dealt with or someone maybe close that they know that's dealt with juvenile arthritis. Then I have A Bit of Earth, which is a reimagining of the classic Secret Garden. And last for this week, Dear Medusa, which is a novel in verse that follows a 16-year-old coping with sexual abuse as she grapples with how to reclaim her story, her anger, and her body in a world that seems determined to punish her for the sin of surviving. So this one clearly is going to be tough in terms of content already, because we know that we are dealing with a main character that has been sexually abused. So if you decide to go into that one, make sure, you know, all precautions set up for that one. All right, so the week of March 21st, we have Remember. This is a picture book that invites young readers to pause and reflect on the wonder of the world around them and to remember the importance of their place in it. Next, I have Lucha of the Night Forest. This is a fantasy about a girl who will do anything to protect her sister, even if it means basically entering into a dangerous bargain, which the cover of that one is absolutely gorgeous as well. Next is Mirror to Mirror. This is a novel in verse about identical twins who do everything together until external pressures threaten to break them apart. While You Were Dreaming. This is a book that follows a 16-year-old Indian American main character who has undocumented family members and goes viral after saving her crush James's life. Quilt Bag, which is another really cute cover. This is a middle grade book that is an unforgettable story about the importance and joy in finding a community. Specifically, this one features a summer camp, which is an inclusive retreat for trans and queer kids. So I'm excited. I'm really excited about that one. That's one of my top releases for March that I'm looking forward to reading. Next is Dear Mothman. This is another middle grade novel in verse about a young trans boy dealing with the loss of his friend by writing to this creature or person that is Mothman, which that cover is creepy. It's weird. It's creepy. Next is My Powerful Hair, which is an empowering picture book about family history, self-expression, and reclaiming your identity. I also wanted to point out that My Powerful Hair as well as Remember are both written by Indigenous authors. And the last one, The Yellow Handkerchief, is a picture book about a child who confronts conflicting feelings of embarrassment and love for her Mexican abuela. All right, and for the last week, March 28th, which I also only have a handful for this week, the first one I have is Daddy Dress Me. This is a picture book that follows a single dad's journey as he makes clothes to inspire his daughter. Then Saints of the Household, which is a haunting YA contemporary about an act of violence in a small town. After that, I have Into the Light, which follows a 16-year-old queer main character who is homeless and sets out to find his sister, who is still involved with Christ Dominion, which is a group that inevitably abandons him, and he goes out to find her. When he goes out to find her, he's forced to confront his religious trauma. Big Tune, Rise of the Dance Hall Prince. This is a picture book about a black boy with big dancing dream who learns the meaning of courage and community. And honestly, all I saw was dance hall. And as a person who has family with Caribbean roots, that's all I needed to know. That's all I needed to know. Next, as you will know, there are a lot of mermaid books now coming out because of The Little Mermaid dropping this year. So we have The Mermaid Princesses. This is a magical story that follows 3 black mermaids who each want to wear the underwater crown. Next, I have another picture book, which is Baba June's Treasure. This is a picture book about a little girl who spends the day with her grandfather and learns more about who he is. The last one that I have is a middle grade book, which is Hamra and the Jungle of Memories. This is a Malaysian spin on Little Red Riding Hood, which sounds really interesting. So there's 2 retellings in March that I'm looking forward to. Well, there's 3 that I had. You have a Sense and Sensibility retelling, there is a Secret Garden retelling, and a Little Red Riding Hood retelling, which we love a good retelling. All right, y'all, so that's it. Those are the March new releases. If there are any titles in particular that you're interested in seeing or reading, or if there's any that you have that I didn't mention in this specific video, let me know in the comment box below. As always, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button if you want to see more content, click the bell for notifications. If you're interested in following me on social media, if you're interested in supporting this channel via Patreon or through my Amazon wish list, all those links will be down in the description box below. And I'll be back with another video soon. Bye.